We're quitting
still
again, and then I'm not happy New Year yet.
Kim, can you pass the one right next? Yep.
Thanks.
We were good, right?
All right, almost Mark.
I'm on, Rosie.
Our thing says meeting is now streaming live on YouTube.
We still have that play.
Okay, I just I wanted to give it a. Yes, we're live. I just wanted to give it a second to make sure no feedback came back through.
You guys sound perfect.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm good here.
maybe if you have other applications open, close them. Besides,
Sounds good here.
Maybe. At the rate I've been running these meetings so far this morning, I'm not gonna last long.
Okay, can you hear us clearly? No feedback on?
Yeah,
Okay, we're gonna go with that.
okay. All right, so we passed the minutes. Now we're on to the housekeeping resolution. We talked about the amendments to it.
So, yeah, so for purposes of the governance committee, I mean, the housekeeping resolution that'll be adopted by the full board at 10 o'clock. That'll say these are the members of this committee, this committee, this committee, and will approve the existing policies and procedures of the IDA. So I guess for purposes of this governance committee meeting, Mark, we would want to know, we'd have to determine who will be on the audit committee going forward in 2023.
So Rich,
Well, I would recommend that we have Gary, Sagan, and Brad. They meet twice a year. We could even do that remotely for them if we had to. They will, the auditors will come in and speak to the committee, about the audit and what they plan to do. And then they'll do that in January. And then in March, like a week before the board meeting, they would come and present their final draft to the board and if the board or to the audit committee. And if they wanted to make changes to that or had questions, or I had questions, or Mark had questions, we answer them all there. And then they just report to the board at the next meeting. So the audit committee meets twice, once in January, once in March. And that would be my recommendation for those members.
okay,
Brad,
The
Sagan, are
next
you
committee is,
good with that?
sorry, Gary, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was just confirming that all three of us are on board and before we elected them, that they were happy to serve on the audit committee.
Oh, you can't give them a choice.
What is
I'm
that?
trying to ease in here at the beginning. I didn't want to scare them off right at the start.
There you go. So start out dictatorially and you go from there.
Okay. So do we have a motion? Or Brad, can you move motion 2A, the housekeeping resolution?
Housekeeping resolution 122722-01.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Brad, second by Sagan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So carried.
Chris, do you need the members of the other committees as well, the governance and finance?
We do. We do
Okay.
to properly adopt the housekeeping resolution by the IDA. Yeah.
So, the role of the finance committee has been over the years, very legislatively, Chris and Millen, tell me if I'm wrong, the finance committee was there to approve any of the bonds that we did. And other than that, that was actually their only function. All of the finance reports in the budget were reported directly to the board. Our finance committee did not act as a, intermediate for the budget and for all that. Now, I don't know if we want to change that, if the authority budget office is going to change it or not, Gary. I don't know what they're going to do, but in the past, the only time we had a finance committee meeting was when we had a bond deal and the finance committee had to review that. So Chris, is that how you see it right now?
I do. I think that's historically the way we've handled it. You're required technically to have the finance committee move the bond resolution to the full board for approval. So And I don't think the ABO is going to have much change in that. I can't crystal ball, but I doubt very much they would change the role of the finance committee for the IDA.
So that group, Gary, would meet only for the CRC. Well, it could meet for the IDA. It could. It would never meet for CREDC. CREDC can't issue bonds. IDAs can issue some bonds. The majority of our bonds get issued through the CRC. So again, that committee, just 2 or 3 people, you might meet once every 2 years. So whoever you'd like to pick, Gary, is probably fine with me. And again, they're reviewing the bonds that we would do for the ice arena or the hospital or any other not-for-profit.
Is there any reason why it couldn't be the same 3?
It has been historically, Mark, yes.
Yeah, no issues.
So are you 3 good with being on that committee as well?
Sure. Mhm.
Okay.
So now the governance committee was probably going to have a lot of work to do this year as we, we'll be reviewing all of our policies and looking at the recommendations of the ABO. And I know a lot of that work will be done in-house by the staff, Mark, myself, and he's got some outside resources he's going to bring in to, excuse me, to look at that. So, again, Gary, I don't know who you would want to be on there with you, but it might be somebody other than Brad and Sagan, and it might have a little more time.
How about Dan Heisenreiter?
Yeah, he said yes.
I heard him. Yeah, I think Dan makes a lot of sense. Dan comes from that world of policies and procedures, it's.
Yeah. Does it need to be 3 people?
No, it can be 2.
How about Gary and Dan? If Gary will do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that works.
Gary and Dan.
Okay. So someone would need to make a resolution to amend Gary's resolution to put those names in.
So is that all the committees? Have we got them all covered?
Yeah.
Currently, yes.
Yep.
Okay.
You know, when I have a board meeting, it's usually the guys that don't show up get the committee.
Sagan, could you move an amendment to the housekeeping resolution?
Yes, move amendment to housekeeping. 12/27/2205.
Okay, and that is just to the addition of the audit, the finance and the governance committee. Gary, Sagan, Brad will be doing the audit and the finance, and the governance committee will be myself and Dan. Do we have a second? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So carried.
Okay.
Do we
I have
any-
a question now for Chris and Mill and Gary. I don't see any reason why do we need to have the CRC governance and the CREDC governance to approve the same thing, or can we just, it just seems a little bit ludicrous how this is working. I wanted to get Chris and Millen's take on that.
I defer to agency counsel.
It's you, Millen.
You're on mute, Millen.
Millen,
Millen, you're on mute.
still on mute, buddy.
Probably on purpose.
There you go. I was getting a phone call. Can you repeat the question? I heard that this is inane, but that may not be relevant.
So we have this housekeeping resolution we passed on with the committees for the IDA. Now, do we need to close this governance committee meeting, open up a governance committee for the CRC, and then open up a governance committee for CREDC and pass the same resolution? Or, I mean, it just seems nonsensical to me.
Well, I think that if it's the same members, then let's, by the way, is it the same number? Is it the same exact members?
Yes.
Okay, then we're going to deem this to be the governance committee of all 3 entities. And when all 3 vote to recommend it to their respective organizations, it'll be 1 vote. But let me ask one more question. Is the meeting schedule available? I see it as Schedule B to Chris's housekeeping resolution. I'm assuming that it's attached someplace or available.
I could not find it this morning, Millen. Janetta's out sick with COVID. I can get you the attachment as soon as possible. It's the calendar for next year.
Okay, and as long as all the members are okay with that, we'll assume that it has been approved or will be attached or, whatever.
And Millen, I did see in the CREDC bylaws that the members of CREDC hold that office by virtue of their membership in the IDA, and they hold the exact same committees. So that's the CREDC bylaws.
Okay,
I didn't get a chance to review the CRC bylaws, but that's what the CREDC bylaws say, is that if you're the treasurer for the IDA, you're the treasurer for CREDC. So
okay,
I don't know if that's good enough or not, but if we deem this as a meeting for all three, and I do believe that's the way the Authority Budget Office wants to do it, that we would have one meeting for all three for some of these things. But they had to get clarification and they never got back to us. But I'm sure when they give us their 3 or 4 page report that there'll be some clarification in there on that.
Rich, did you really think that their report's going to be 3 or 4 pages?
Yeah, 3 or 4 pages. I don't think so, Rich. I don't think so.
Maybe
being a little-
on microfiche.
I was being a little facetious. I was.
Good. Just want to make sure you weren't drinking this early in the morning.
Just cough, sir.
So does Gary need to say anything about the CREDC or the CRC at this point?
Mark, I do believe it's worth noting that there are 3 separate housekeeping resolutions with 3 separate resolution numbers. So I think it would be beneficial to have it passed for all 3 numbers.
I don't think that's not what Millen said, though, Rosie. Millen said that we could just make this one at the governance committee meeting. Now, you're talking about the governance committee doesn't pass resolutions, though. The board will pass the final resolution. So,
Okay.
Millen, do we need to have the 3 separate board meetings, or can we just do the one board meeting as well?
Well, that's a much bigger question. If you want to have all 3 entities meet at the same time and have it be a joint meeting, I've got no problem with that. Just, you open it up and say, this is a joint meeting of the 3 entities, and off you go. And then I think that we've just determined that the 3 different governance committees have now recommended the housekeeping resolution with the committees filled in to their respective entities.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
I think it would be just in the combined meeting, though, we would presumably consider each resolution individually. I think that.
That's what I
Probably.
mean. Yeah, because they've all got different numbers.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I don't mind if you take one vote, but it should be 3 resolutions, 1 for each entity, because they are, in theory, slightly different.
Agree with Millen.
Okay. Read all 3 resolutions, Gary, and we'll have 1 vote. That's a good idea when we get to the board meeting. Yep.
Okay. Did we have any other business to come before the governance committee? Okay, we'll consider the governance committee closed.
I'm just going to pause and stop the live stream.